This is Talking Foreign Policy, a critical look at Canada's role abroad, and I'm Eve Engler. On Sunday, activists in Toronto effectively disrupted the launch of Chrystia Freeland's bid to lead the Liberal Party. The former Deputy Prime Minister was repeatedly heckled for her support of genocide in Gaza. Over the past 16 months, Freeland has attended multiple pro-genocide rallies, and at her leadership launch on Sunday, extreme Zionist Liberal MP Anthony Housefather stood right next to Freeland. As Foreign Affairs Minister for 3 years, Freeland pushed an anti-Palestinian agenda. During a 2018 trip to Israel, she spoke alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying, Canada's commitment to Israel's security is unwavering and ironclad. In this quite remarkable speech, she went on to say that Canada's, quote, presence on the UN Security Council can be an asset for Israel. She also went on to say the world also needs more pro-Israel. A Canadian foreign minister saying the world needs more of any other country is a very weird thing to say. To discuss this very successful disruption and bringing Palestine into the liberal leadership race, we have one of the organizers of this successful action. So first of all, I just want to say congratulations on the disruption on Sunday. And can you describe the action and some of the organizing that went into it?
Sure, thank you. Thanks for inviting me to be here. We have a number of groups that have been coming together over the last 15 months of this genocide. And when we saw this opportunity, we knew that this was an event that Chrystia would be at. And that is going to be our chance to finally have a face-to-face conversation, because in our attempts to reach her by phone, by email, she has just been completely unresponsive. So we knew this was an event that she would be at. So we made sure to show up, and that we made sure to be heard. So we had a number of activists in the room to just remind her that Palestine is still something that everyone is thinking about, and that having served in government, we know what her record is and how she has failed as Deputy Prime Minister in preventing the genocide in Gaza.
And so there were people who got on stage with a Palestinian flag. I think two different people kind of got up to the podium. The media, I should also state that the media covered this widely. The media generally is very sympathetic, the dominant media, to Freeland, but they covered it on the National. They covered it in the front page of the Globe and Mail, the CTV, Toronto City TV. I saw La Presse. Le Devoir. I mean, it was covered in probably most of today. Just to Tuesday, today's National Post has two different articles mentioning the disruption. So yeah, can you? So there were people who kind of one after another intervened when she started speaking.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Some people took the liberty of upon themselves to hop on stage or to bring banners, and we welcome that. That's the beauty of this movement, that people who feel very impassioned about what is happening in Palestine rose to the moment and spoke up as they saw fit.
And I'm assuming there's a certain degree of organizing that went into this because you did put out a press release kind of almost immediately. I don't know if you handed it out to the journalists at the event or it was just sent to them afterwards, but I saw that there was a press release. So this wasn't just this was like a well organized action of this sort.
Yes, we do tend to make sure that all of those things are in place, and we knew that there would be a lot of media. So we had made sure that our friend had something prepared and it was available to media to be able to frame their story.
Yeah, so that I think that was quite effective. Now, so this was a big action. In a sense, I would see, or successful action, should I say? In a sense, I would see this as almost sort of like throwing the gauntlet down for activists across the country um, to um, to sort of bird dog, if you like, or target Freeland, who again, with Anthony Housefather standing next to her at the launch of her candidacy to lead the Liberal Party, she's clearly messaging that she's the pro-genocide candidate, if you want to frame it like that. So how do you see this in the context of the Liberal leadership race And does this, offer an opportunity for? I think that the leadership race offers sort of an opportunity to bring in the genocide question. And also, I would say that if activists were to sort of rise to the occasion that you've the folks in Toronto sort of laid out, um, if there was any sense that the Palestine question contributed to Freeland's not winning the leadership of the Liberal Party, I think that would be a quite remarkable, important assertion of pro-Palestinian internationalist power. So how do you see this in the context of sort of the Liberal leadership race and maybe sort of the going forward?
Sure, there's a couple of things that I'll say about that. One of the things is that I do know that one of the candidates who's running for leadership has mentioned the idea of Palestinian statehood, which is actually something that Canada's Foreign Affairs Committee on Parliament Hill had voted and agreed to several months ago, and yet they did not pass any kind of a bill around that. For the past 15 months, the demands of the Palestinian solidarity activists has been very clear that we need a two-way arms embargo, and it hasn't materialized. Even when you look at this leadership race, I was just counting this morning, there's 45 days until the actual leadership race day. The first phase of the ceasefire agreement will finish after 42 days. So I don't think that Palestinians are necessarily going to be hugely impacted by this race in general. That is why the Palestinian Solidarity Movement has really been organizing around weapons manufacturing factories. It's a welcome development, and we do hope that people continue to ask the question because we still do not have a two-way arms embargo. We hope that people continue to bring it up. However, Chrystia Freeland has had 15 months to respond to our calls, respond to our emails, to address this question, and she hasn't. So if people are able to drive that point home, that's wonderful. However, I would say a lot of folks in the Palestinian solidarity movement have lost faith in politicians because they have shown that they would rather let a genocide continue than speak up against it.
Yeah, well, Freeland, obviously by attending different pro-genocide rallies over the past 16 months, she's made herself clear, and also having Anthony Housefather at her event, I think she's messaging. One of the things that's interesting during the leadership race is that the people who would likely vote in a Liberal leadership race would be much more sympathetic to the Palestinian cause than the dominant media and or how the dominant media would present their level of sympathy. So there is the usual pattern is the politicians when there's some election they tack to the left, and then they obviously govern to the right, and liberals are very well known for that. So I think that the fact that the politicians are going to be out there trying to get votes over the next the liberal candidates, should I say, for over the next 6 weeks or so, there is some opportunity to not only because they're going to be out in the public and go and ask them questions or interrupt their events like you did so successfully, but also that they're going to have a disposition to be sort of tacking left, if you like, tacking towards where the voters are, and I think the voters are again much more anti-genocide than the dominant media is. So there's, I think, some opportunities in that. And can you just kind of maybe just to conclude? I assume everyone who was involved in this event was very happy with it because it was very effective. But yeah, so what's kind of like what was the kind of group's feeling? And then just repeat. I know you put out a press release that had specific demands. You mentioned the two-way arms embargo, but yeah. So what were the specific demands in that press release?
Among the demands were the two-way arms embargo. It's time for an end to the support of settlements. It's time for sanctions on Israel. It's time to stop having any kind of ties with Israel. International law requires it. And so far, Canada has failed its obligation on the world stage to uphold humanitarian rights. So there's a number of things that Canada can and should be doing, and they've let it slide. And we hope that this just reminds everyone that this is still present, that it's still top of mind, and that Palestinians are still suffering. And there is a lot that Canada can and should be doing to end its complicity.
Wonderful. So again, on Sunday at her launch, Chrystia Freeland, former Deputy Prime Minister, former Foreign Affairs Minister, former International Trade Minister, was repeatedly heckled by members of the community in Toronto. And the spotlight was taken away from the messaging she wanted to put forward, which was she's the best person to stand up to Donald Trump. And the messaging, to a certain extent, was put on Canada's complicity in the genocide in Gaza, and that is thanks to the great organizing of activists in Toronto. Thank you.